Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Colin Jackson.
Yeah, no, fantastic to actually see all that. It still excites me. So it's really one of the best things.
There's nothing wrong with looking back at that with a bit of satisfaction. It's probably one of the striking things about you was your longevity. You know, 1986 in Stuttgart, wasn't it? We were in the British team, and you were winning medals. You won the European Championships in 2002. Now, unless my maths is out, that's a 16-year span. I mean, that is incredible. To avoid the injuries and the pitfalls of most people's careers is a massive feather in your cap anyway. If you've just been a journeyman international athlete, finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th in championships, like some people not sitting too far from you, but you were a great champion for years and years and years. How do you manage that?
One of the things, let's be honest, you can never go through a career, as you just mentioned, without getting injuries. You know, I think the key thing for me is being able to manage those injuries well. So get a good team of people around you that were also very wary of when you were getting tired, or if you were getting a little bit fatigued, or if you'd over-raced, really when to rein you in. So that was really important, that I had a lot of people around who had those skills. And I think they were very protective of me to make sure that I developed, and then I maintained my position of being one of the world's best high hurdlers of all time.
Now, we've jumped into this rather quickly. We've only got about 20 minutes, so we're going to rattle through stuff. There's so much about you, Colin, that I want to hear, as I know everybody else does. But have you been to India before?
Once before.
2010, was that?
No, I came here working, because you know, the International Sport Director of Wings for Life World Run course. So I came over here with Wings for Life and Red Bull to have a look around. And it was just an incredible journey for me in 2018. So I was in New Delhi then, and that was just incredible. So to come here to Kolkata, it's just like unbelievable.
First impressions?
I loved it. I love the busyness, I love the vibe. Each city has its own little energy, you know, and as an international athlete, you travel the world, you feel the energy from all over. And so to come here, to feel the buzz was just super cool. I love it.
They say New York's the city that never sleeps. India really never sleeps. I mean, I flew yesterday morning, I was at Delhi airport at 3 a.m. to get my connecting flight from London, and there were thousands of people in the terminal. I could not believe it. So you have to adjust.
Yeah, you do. You're right. And it's funny enough because lots of things here reminded me a little bit of New York. You know, the tooting of the horns. If you go to New York, and you always hear that downtown. So that is exciting and excites me itself. But I've just come back from the Victoria Memorial now, and what an incredible building. And it was busy there as well, so it's great to see lots of activity happening. So I am really looking forward to Sunday, really, to see what that brings, the same energy, what's going to tell me.
Colin, you know, behind every athlete's career there's usually a team of people, as you alluded just now, but Malcolm Arnold is a coach for you for most of your career. Do you think that was key? Do you think you could have achieved it without Malcolm?
No. He was a very special man. I mean, his coaching really started in Uganda, and he coached one of the best 400 meters hurdlers, John Akibua. And Malcolm was only 28 when he took John Aki to his Olympic gold medal in 400 meter hurdles and the world record, because John Akibua was the first person to go under 48 seconds, so he was a trailblazer. And I was lucky enough that particular man ended up in Wales, literally 40 minutes from my home, and ended up being my coach. So you know how sometimes fortune falls into your lap. You know, it was no effort from me. All I literally had to do was just joyfully turn up my track, and there was this experienced coach who'd achieved so much. And then once that relationship you have with a coach, and they get to know you, they get to know your family a little better, then you get much closer. I used to call Malcolm really like, he was my second father, because to be honest, he spent more time with me than my father, because of course I was training all the time, so I was with my coach all the time. And it was just a wonderful relationship that started from the age of 15 until I retired at 36.
But athletics is luck, was your bad luck when you were a kid, because you were a very good cricketer, pretty good rugby player, did a bit of football, bit of basketball. But what I read this morning was that you actually got turned away from cricket a little bit because you didn't get selection, you experienced what might have been construed as a bit of racism. There were 4 of you and 3 white kids got selected for the Welsh cricket squad and you didn't. And you thought, right, that's not for me then, and you had to go to athletics. And the chances of you having the talent you had, getting turned away by cricket in that way, and a world record coaching coach was 40 minutes from you. 1 in a million, probably 1 in 50 million.
I mean, do you know, that's why I don't bother playing the lottery, right? Because I think I've had my lottery numbers all come in already, just in that circumstance. There's no doubt about that. So for me, I feel I was really blessed that happened to me. And, you know, one of the messages, I always say, Ross, and you know I work a lot with young people, and I always say to them, it generally always could be you. You know, look around you, look at people who've achieved from the same environment as you. Don't be afraid to feel that this world is not yours. You know, you've got to take this world like you own it. And if you own it, you can create so much magic. And if you've got the talent, the God-given talent, you become a trailblazer, you become the rule maker, and then all of a sudden the world can look very different to your young eyes.
Now, speaking of talent and background, you're West Indian, a little bit Panamanian.
Yeah, my grandmother's from Panama.
Where did the genes come from? These genes to make you a champion sprinter, because Colin was not only fantastic over the hurdles, he won European indoor gold over 60 metres. He had was it World Championship gold in 4x100?
Well, silver in 4x1.
You know, your sprint ability was world class, and there's not many who've got that double ability. Most great sprint hurdlers are very good sprinters, but they're not world class sprinters. You had that. So where does it come from? Is it your mum, your dad? Have you found that?
Well, I always say this to my mother. To this day, I still tell her. I always remind her, all the good things are down to me, all the bad things are them, right? That's where it all comes from. So, no, I think I was always really, really lucky that they were enthusiastic about sport, but not pushy. You know the difference when I say if parents are a little bit pushy in that sense. So they were always great fans of all sports. So I felt I kind of got ignited in sport courtesy of them. And I'm going to take you all back on a little bit of a memory history here now, because I can remember watching the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal, and there was John Quarry sprinting, of course, from Jamaica, one of their favourites to take the gold medal in the 100 metres. And my mum and dad were Jamaican, and they were in front of the TV screen, like screaming, but you could feel the energy in the room as they were watching this 100 metres, and the guy went, Don had an awful start, ended up taking the silver medal. And the disappointment on my parents' face was literally like he was their own. And I remember them thinking, wow, I would love to be able to do something to make them respond in a way, just a similar way. I don't want to be a negative one, but just to feel the energy, to know that it's happening. And as luck had it, you know, it was the same sport, and apparently, of course I never knew, but apparently when I was racing, they were quite anxious and nervous, the same way they were with Don Quarry back in the day.
I bet they were. Don Quarry went on to get the 200 gold.
He wanted the 200 metre gold medal, so that was alright, but we wanted a double, man, we're greedy.
So how have you handled your fame and reputation? Because Wales is a small country over to the west of the UK. You're in South Wales. You know, my son went to university in Cardiff, where you are, and it's a beautiful city, but it's quite a small city too. So I remember Steve Cram, who's been as an ambassador on other events, said when he was at height of his fame, he couldn't go into town clothes shopping or anything. His wife would have to go and come back with 10 pairs of trousers and 20 shirts, and he'd select what he liked. Because he couldn't go into town, he'd get mobbed or attacked by Newcastle fans because he was the wrong football club. Have you had that in Cardiff?
No, I think the Welsh people are very different in that sense. You know, we're very community driven as a nation in that sense, and they're proud of their own. So, you know, there was always going to be a little bit of a celebration, patting on the back, well done lads, you know, when you've achieved. The only time I would go into town, to be honest, if I had a disastrous race, because I was just way too embarrassed to meet my general public in that sense. So I definitely would have gone into town there. But yeah, being back home in Wales, I think is always great. But you know, at home, kind of my sister has got fame in her own way as well. She's an actor, so I was always around people who were celebrated, and I think that kept me very grounded as well. So it wasn't something like, oh, there's Colin Jackson there. It'd be like, oh, there's Suzanne Packer. Oh, and there's Colin Jackson standing next to her. So it was nice to have that.
Of all your performances, Colin, you know, you were twice world champion outdoors, world indoor champion, European indoor and outdoor champion, world records. Which stands out? What's the memory that if you had to make a snap decision, which is the one memory that really...
Funny enough, none of those.
Oh, you were twice Commonwealth champion as well.
Yeah.
Minor point.
None of those either. But for me, it was, and you'll understand the story right, it was the World Junior title, World Junior Championships, when I was 19. And going into that, it was the first time I was going to any major competition as a favourite. And you're 19 and the world's eyes are looking at you. It's the very first World Championships as a junior. So this was really your opportunity to make a mark. And about 4 weeks before the World Junior Championships, I pulled my hamstring. And so I couldn't race, I couldn't train, I couldn't practice, I couldn't do nothing before that major championships. And then I was actually selected for Great Britain to do the long jump, the hurdles, and the 4x1 at that particular championships. And when I arrived at the games, because I'd done no training, they pulled me out of the long jump straight away. They had to name the relay squad, and I wasn't running, so they pulled me out of the relay squad. And the only event that was left for me to do was the hurdles. And they said, let's see what happens. It's the end of the championships, the last 2 days. And I ended up winning those championships, setting a new European junior record, second fastest junior of all time. And I realised at that particular moment, it was quite life-changing, because I realised that I can compete even if I've carried an injury, even if there's a lot of pressure on me, even when there's a focus on me, I can still go out there and win major championships. So it set up my career to say, you can do this, young man, in whatever circumstance, and there will never be an excuse. So yeah, I think that's why the World Junior Championships was so important for me for my whole career.
That's nice, isn't it? Your first really significant goal years and years ago was the most important to you. Do you have an eye for people who do you see signs, because you're a big pundit on BBC TV now, have been for many years. Do you have an eye for spotting qualities in somebody on camera that shows they're going to be a champion? I'm thinking of Neeraj Chopra, the Olympian and world champion for India in the javelin. Have you seen things in him, for example, that say, yeah, there's just something about it?
Oh yeah, that's clear. There's a sense of real focus and commitment of what he's going to do. You can see, and his attention to detail. So lots of things you've got to strip back. You know, sometimes when he throws a javelin, you see him throw himself on the floor, and people going, that's an untidy throw. But the javelin's already gone. He's already released it. So what you've got to look at is the precision, what he's done to get the javelin in the right position, to put his whole powertrain through that single point and watch that flight go. Don't worry what he does on the floor moments after. It's how he actually releases that. So when you see all that really clear perspective of what these athletes are doing, watch them on the line when they're going to approach the runner. Look at their feet, look how they accurately always hit their check marks without even looking down on the floor. When you see an athlete who's that consistent and has the talent, you know this is pure quality, and it does excite you. And then you just wait for that magical moment where you go, okay, today's the day, he's going to hit one.
Speaking of attention to detail, after the pole vault, which is just insanity to me, and they have to have so many qualities to be great pole vaulters, the hurdles is probably the other discipline where you can have a bad accident. You can, one tiny error, and you clip it, you go down at massive speed, you get tangled up with that wood and the metal and the weights and so on. It's pretty dangerous. So your attention to detail, as you've just been saying, was what you spent a lot of time on. But you're beginning to coach somebody who's pretty useful now. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a young athlete by the name, well, he's not so young anymore, right, in relative terms, but a young athlete by the name of Andrew Posley, and he's a really good quality athlete. Now, he, first of all, was coached by my coach way back in 2012. But unfortunately, my coach decided that it was time for him to retire because he didn't want to see someone through another 20 years of his own personal life, which makes sense, right? And then Andrew kind of moved around a couple of coaches, and now I've eventually got my hands on him and dragged him back down to Cardiff to work with me full time. And I've made so many significant changes already with him technically. It excites me to see what he's going to do in this competition field because he's more than capable. He's already been a world indoor champion, he's been European indoor champion, he's been a Commonwealth Games medalist, he's been an Olympic finalist, a world finalist, he's done more. Now, as we go into 2024, I need him to get that Olympic medal because he's capable of it.
Now, I spoke to you a couple of days ago before when we were both still back in the UK. And you said you saw in the first training session with him, you saw one or two things. Can you give us all an example of one of the tiny little adjustments that you spotted that needs to be made? Just is it a shoulder here or an arm there?
There's a combination of that. You say, you move the shoulders there, people will go, what relevance is that? But yeah, you've got to have your weight has got to be going in the right direction, for example. But I think the biggest adjustments I made for Andrew was his foot placement on his trail leg coming across the barrier, and he was very lazy with it, and he won't mind me actually saying that, but he was really lazy with it, and the first day he arrived with me it was really bad, and so I spent virtually from October to now drilling him every single day to lift his foot, lift his ankle, clear the barrier. And it's for the reason that you said, because if you drop your foot by 1 centimetre in our event, you hit a hurdle, and if you hit a hurdle, literally the speed maneuver, it can be the end of your game. So
he was dropping his foot. Spent 8 weeks making a tiny adjustment to his foot position.
Yeah, went from that position. So if my hand is as flat as his foot to this position, and he's got to do that, go from there, because that's just because he's not been told, and he's just not applied it to that position. And you will see, I mean, if you see footage of him run, you'll see the difference straight away when he starts racing. So yeah, just one little adjustment.
And I mean, I coached many years ago, I coached guys to the Olympics, and the satisfaction you get from it is immense. Your heart is bursting out of your chest, isn't it, when you see it go well. Have you got that feedback from seeing him race?
He hasn't raced yet, but in training wise, it's been really good. And I've literally been rubbing my hands together, and I'm saying to him all the time, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing. I'm really happy with what I'm seeing. And he keeps saying, oh, I'm not happy yet. We've got to race first. Which means just a good sign knowing him, because he always undermarks himself. And it's always good to see athletes who do that in a way, because they're open books. And it gives you the opportunity, if it's not going so well, to just remind them about things they're not doing so well at. Yeah. I mean, he suffered you can imagine hurdlers have to do endurance work as well, and they're not that keen on endurance work. And as a coach, I don't mind watching them do endurance work.
So it's given you a whole life, and this last 30 years of athletics and involvement in it as an athlete, as a coach, as a mentor. But you are from Wales, where rugby is like cricket in India. Cricket in India is virtually a religion, and rugby in Wales is the same. If you had your time again, would you love to have been a wing for Wales playing rugby?
No, it's way too cold. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go on that wing for Wales. No, I think individual sports is where I'm at. My mentality kind of drives me to be an individual performer. I can work well within a team, so preparation with the team, etc., is always great, but getting on the actual start line, I love the actual fact that it all relies on me. So if I do it today, I've done it. I can't blame anybody else apart from myself, and I like that.
Now, there was another great Welsh hurler, Nigel Walker, who was a teammate of ours again. Nigel had a great career as a hurler, and then moved to rugby and started playing for Cardiff, and he played for Wales on the wing, and he got smashed up a bit, shoulder injuries and stuff, but he was able to combine the two. Did it ever occur to you to maybe change codes?
No. Yeah, no. I mean, when Nigel told us initially, because we were all trained together, so when he told us that he was going to move to rugby, every single person in the group was saying to him, don't do it. Just don't do it. But he had a passion, he had a desire, and he had the will. And you know, if you have a passion for anything, you have a mind focus for it, then that's where your attention's going to go. And so he lost his desire for athletics and was heading somewhere else. So rugby was what he wanted to do. He played it at schoolboy level, at a high level. So yeah, that's where he wanted to return. And now he has to look after it in an administrative way, which is, I think he'd rather be playing than have to deal with the administration of rugby at the moment, especially Welsh rugby.
I bet he would. I want to open it up to questions very shortly, Colin. Just one final one from me, the record holder and so on. You've done the rise. What would be your words of advice to young athletes looking at the sport, considering it, wanting to come through?
Yeah, well, as you say, you mentioned India's like a sleeping giant in our world of athletics. But they are certainly awakening slowly but surely, you know, in sport across the board. You know, very successful Asian Games as well, some great performances there. So yeah, I would say to the youngsters, really, this world is for you. You know, don't shy away from it. Don't feel you may not see many people achieving greatness who look the same as you. But why not be the trailblazer? Why not be that one who takes themselves out their comfort zone and be the person everybody looks up to? Chopra did it. He is just an amazing athlete. So why can't you be the next? Don't hide.
Absolutely. Why not me?
Welcome to Kolkata.
Thank
Colin,
you.
we just saw this video. Do you think you lost to a most talented runner like Kingdom? And where would you put Edwin Moses, Kingdom and you in the list?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you know, our event itself, if you look at it, if you think from Ronaldo Nehemiah, who ran under 13 seconds, the first man to go to 30 seconds, that happened in 1981. And our event is only moved on to 1281, which is not that much in time if you compare it to every other event. Then you realize that, you know, anybody who's achieved anything in our event, you're only the person dominant in that field at that particular time. One of my athletes said to me something really interesting, and he reminded me that there exactly the same amount of men have landed on the moon have gone under 13 seconds for 110 meter hurdles. So you have just as much chance as going to the moon as you have going under 13 seconds. So if you're one of those people to do that, then yeah, you're pretty lucky.
Is that next on your list then, the moon?
I wouldn't mind doing that actually. The world will look so much better, much more peaceful from up there, that's for sure.
As long as it's a return ticket.
I'll have one, yeah.
Yeah. Again, my question is that we saw your last moment dip.
Yeah.
You were excellent in the dip.
Yeah.
Did it help you to dance like Michael Jackson?
Do you know, I never practiced my dip, even in training in that sense. So do you think, I mean, do you know what, let's be honest, hurdles is all about a rhythm. It's about rhythm, it's about timing. So absolutely no doubt that particular event of rhythm and timing certainly will help me dance. And most probably did, yeah.
Yeah, and one last question, Jackson. Welcome. It is great that we came to know about you from Tata Steel. But in Calcutta, this is a football city where everyone knows about Gareth Bale and Ryan Giggs. Which team do you support in Wales and which player? Gareth Bale, and he's not in form.
Oh, well, Gaff has spent his time playing golf now, so I don't think he has much interest in that. And we're from the same city, Gareth Bale myself, so it was always good to see him being really successful in the world of football, that is for sure. But for me, and hold your breath, everybody, I'm a Man City fan, sorry about that. Yeah. So sorry. Don't hold it against
We've all got our cross to
I
bear.
know. I noticed lovely blue you've got on there.
It's not Brighton blue. That's the team to watch, just in case you're wondering.
It's doing well. Brighton is doing
What is the special food that you have tasted till now in Kolkata?
Well, I've just been here just over 12 hours, so I've not been here too much to eat much food at this particular moment in time. But what I am looking forward to, because I have got a natural sweet tooth, and everybody tells me you gotta taste the sweets here, Colin. That would be the thing to do. So I'm looking forward
No,
to having
take
some
also
that.
one basket of sweet to your Uganda. Your sweets, huh?
Colin, you didn't have the biryani at lunch. That's got a little kick to it.
Everybody said the biryani was nice. I had some chicken, I had some fish. The fish was delicious as well. So yeah, I think the fish was quite a traditional dish as
The
well.
food is spectacular in the hotel. And the sweets. I mean, Rob's been tucked into the sweets. The sweets you will love.
Okay, I see his funds going up, so alright.
So,
Yes. I'll come to you next. Hold on, yes.
So we have heard that you are the author of multiple books. So can you just mention some of them, like what is it all about and
Well, all of them are really related to young people in that sense. So I've done some mobility books because for me, stretching was really one of the biggest parts. I'm really short for a world-class high hurdler, right? So being so short, I realized that stretch and flexibility was the only way I was going to be able to get myself over the barrier as well. So, we tried to use lots of the books in educational ways in that sense. So that was really one of them. The other one was called Life's World's Hurdles in that sense. And that was about talking about what it's like to grow up in South Wales and then adding to that my career, but the difficulties of writing this particular book, it all had to be with words under 5 letters long because it was to help people to learn how to speak English. So that was a challenge in itself to just think about all the right words that you want to use to explain your storyboard in that sense. So lots of things that I write about really are all linked with education, because to me I think that's really important.
Yes.
So your sister Susan is a famous actor. If you get chance in acting, will you do as we have seen Usain Bolt has stepped into football after his athletic career? What will you do?
Yeah, I love Usain's. I mean, Usain's nickname for me is the hatchet man because I go in quite badly when it comes to tackles when we're playing football. But my sister's acting is great. She's always said I'm dramatic enough, so I don't need to take up acting any more professionally than I do at home generally. But no, I think I think sport is where it's at. I have no real interest in going into any other industry in that way. I enjoy what I do within the media. I enjoy the coaching side of stuff, or mentoring, and I think that's where my territory is, and I enjoy it. So I'm not looking for satisfaction elsewhere.